Setting priorities. Do we need to set priorities? Is it important to set priorities? The answer is absolutely. Setting priorities is one of the key ingredients for success. We already defined having discipline is important. You need to have discipline. Setting priorities is also, I would say, either the second or just as important as, or the next stage as having discipline in reaching the goal of success. Now, setting priorities is important because it helps you focus on what you need to focus on. What most people do is they set priorities not based on their importance, but rather on what comes up first. So for example, let's say you're sitting down in yeshiva to learn. You have nothing to do. You have nothing to do, nothing better, whatever. You're sitting down in yeshiva to learn. All of a sudden, somebody tells you, listen, tomorrow we're going to go on a trip. So that becomes your priority. Well, you might be neglecting your learning, you might be neglecting your family, you might be neglecting your school. So your priorities change all the time. Being impulsive like that is a destructive matter. You can't succeed in anything. And having almost like a natural state of ADD, that you jump or bounce from one thing to another. And the reason is because you don't have priorities. If you sit down and you say, what are the most important things in my life? What do I need to do? Where should I invest? Listen, guys, at the end of the days, and when you're really close to death, and assuming that you are, still coherent, you realize that all the things that you thought are important, they're not important. Your job, your affairs, all those things are not important. Money is not. All those things are not important. What's important? You really, quote unquote, you are dying, but you're dying to see your family. You must have your family around you, your wife, your kids, your grandkids, and so on and so forth. When you're on your deathbed, for example, you don't want to see your girlfriend or your mistress. You want to see your wife, or you want to see the kids. So let me ask you a question. Where were you when when you were young? Why you set different priorities? Because you were, urge driven. You were not applying logic. And that has nothing to do with how important, society will define. It's your definition because it is your life. Let's say, for example, and I told you this a million times, I really learn a lot from observing different cultures, and I really appreciate, to a certain extent, Japanese culture. Because you see their combination of discipline and priorities. Sometimes they go overboard, but of course, balancing is the most important thing. And they appreciate that. So if, for example, if you want to talk about success, so after you set you acquire your discipline, you need to have discipline, you must. Then you set your priorities, you make your discipline work for you when you're setting the priorities to continue doing what you know is the right to do. Otherwise you're going to bounce. You're never going to, it's never going to accumulate to anything, and you're never going to reach any level of mastery in anything. And most likely you're going to neglect those who really, or whether it's people or aspects of your life that really need to be set priorities first, whether it's your health. And that happens many times when you go to work, you start working. Work becomes your number one priority, where you are neglecting, because you again, most of us make decisions based out of fear. So we'll take a job that will make us a lot of money. We're afraid to lose the job, even though the job is abusive to us because of that. But you neglect your family, you neglect your health. And you think you're going to get a medal when you're going to be on your deathbed, sick with tubes down your whatever, every hole in your body, you're going to have some tube coming out of there. You think you're going to get a Medal of Honor for being a super dedicated person and setting the wrong priorities? No. And then you're going to ask the people who are really important to you. Then you're going to cry to me about your life, that you wasted your life or how dear your life. And I'm going to tell you you're a liar because life was not important to you. Your job was important to you. You need to understand what is, and you need to sit down with yourself and really truthfully say, what is it that is really, really important in my life? And then you get, let's say, for example, 10, 15 items. That's terrific. That's more than what most people do. Because people don't have it. So right now in front of us, and what most people do, right now is in front of me is this, so that becomes priority number one. And then I move from this one to this one, and that becomes priority number one, and so on and so forth. But that's not the way. Your priority, after you sifted it out from all these things that are really not important, now you have 10, 15 things, that's a lot, that you must sit down and take a list and make a list. What's my number one priority? What's my number two priority? What's my number three priority? And you arrange your day based on those priorities. Whatever is your number one priority takes number one effort and focal point. That's very simple. And most people fail. And we sacrifice our kids, our relationship with our spouses, friends, based on priorities. And when we sacrifice them, we open the gate for abusive relationship when we take advantage of one another because we allow other people to take advantage of us, and therefore we in return try to take advantage of them. And that's how society looks the way it looks. It's all about who's going to use whom. What could you do for me? Kind of a thing. And you should set priorities when it's your health, your family, your spiritual growth, and so on and so forth. And you need to really, really think about it. Not what your mommy told you, not what your daddy told you, what you know for you. So for example, let's say your father had a priority that for him money was the best thing. You have to get a job, whatever. That's the number one priority your daddy has. But you don't share the priority with him. So if you're going to live according to your daddy's standards, you're always going to resent your life and in the end resent your daddy. What's your number one priority? If your number one priority is to become to grow spiritually, well, you know what? Put your money where your mouth is, your mouth with your money. Put something, whatever is something. Otherwise, talk the talk and walk the walk. Make this to your number one priority. Whatever it will take. And that's what I learned about Japanese. Now, the guy could be a carpenter. All he does, he makes joints. Wood joints. But that's his number one priority. So he's not going to think, oh my goodness, what would have happened if I was a banker? That's my number one priority. I'll become the best joint maker. And hey, some Japanese jointery is like the most complicated and complex of all. I mean, they hold houses with no nails. That you can't do without setting priority to become the best. Now I'm going to tell you something else about becoming the best. It's amazing. You look at this Japanese or Okinawan martial artists, karate masters and so on and so forth. They're not bankers and martial artists. They're not this and this. Those people who are like, 89, whatever years old and they're still doing karate and so on, these are people that dedicated their life only to do that particular thing without looking back. Now, if you wonder, how come there's only one Mas Oyama? Or how come there's only one Funakashi? Or why there's only one this or there's only one that? Those people are the people, the real legend, the real successful people became top. Not only top, they became top of the top. Because that's the only thing they do. They did not make it say, I got to go to work, so therefore I'm going to leave my career. Imagine what will happen if Mas Oyama would have gone to become a banker instead of learning martial arts. Today, you would not have Goju Ryu, argument sake. Yeah, so he was making a little bit. Those people are not wealthy. Well, why can't we take that and apply it to our lives? If you, for example, want to become You know, whatever you want to become. You need to make up your mind that this is really what you want. And then you stick to what you want, and whatever it costs. And it doesn't make a difference, because you're going to become the best of it. Look at those guys from Overlanding X, Expedition X. I mean, for crying out loud, they're having the life of whatever. They're traveling all over, and they're making money. Doing what? Traveling on cars? That's great. How come I cannot do it? How come they can do it and be successful and have a Amazon, channel, whatever, and I can't? You know why? It's very simple. It's very simple, because I'm not willing to do that, because I did not set priority in such a way. So I'm bouncing in 50 different places, trying to do different things, and therefore I would never be able to become that. And don't start with like, oh, who's going to marry me? Who's going to marry you? It's going to marry you a woman or a man, if you're a woman, of course, that shares that and appreciates not necessarily even that activity, but the mindset that you have behind it. And I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, I know it's not going to be popular, but hey, I don't care. If that's what you set your mind, if this is your priority, and for whatever reason you haven't found a spouse that shares that set of values and appreciate that mindset, well, let it be. Because if you force yourself not to do so, you're going to resent it, and then you're going to have a horrible relationship with your spouse. You're going to have a horrible relationship with your kids, because they're always going to be a reminder, and you're going to tell them all the time, look what I have sacrificed for you, and now you have to sacrifice for me. Somebody once told me, he says, you know what's the best mother? He said, the best mother is the mother who is willingly not sacrificing everything she has for her kids. That she takes care of herself and so on and so forth. And I said to him, why is that? I mean, I thought the ideal is, you got to do everything for your kids. So he said to me, because later on she will expect her kids to live their lives for her as well. And they're not going to have a life. But you need to make sure that you know to sit down with yourself, and we don't do it, to sit down with yourself and to make a list of what are the most important things for your life. What do you want out of your life? If, for example, your goal in life is to become a Taekwondo teacher, to have students, that's what you want. Who am I to tell you not to? Who is anybody to tell you not to? Why do you feel that you're not entitled for your dream? Or let's say, for example, you want to become a farmer, or you want to become a botanist. Who are you to tell this guy not to? Become whatever you want. We don't dare to do it. We don't dare to tell ourselves, to really get in touch with ourselves, to say what is that we really want to achieve out of life, what really makes us happy. We don't do it. In that vacuum, there is all of a sudden space, and therefore other people tell you what to do. And you don't have priorities, so you can't really dedicate yourself to something. Since you don't have priorities, you can't dedicate yourself to something. You don't have the discipline to do so. And since you don't have the priorities, you don't have the discipline, you're going to become good at nothing. The only thing you're going to become good at is wasting your life. So don't do it. Do whatever you needs to do. Getting your discipline, working on your discipline, starts with you telling yourself, I need to get up every single day at time X. And whatever it takes, you're going to get up at that time out of bed. Every single day at the same time. Your discipline starts with that. If you get up, let's say you said to yourself, I'm going to get up at 6 o'clock. And one day you get up at 5, one day you get up at 8. Not going to happen. Because everything else you can't grow on instability like that. So if you know that you must get up at 5 or at 6 o'clock, therefore guess what? Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat chila. You know that you have to go to sleep at a certain time in order to be able to go to whatever time for you, whether it's 10 o'clock, whether it's 11 o'clock. But you know for sure that if you go to sleep at 12, that's going to be a problem for you. So therefore, prevent what it takes for you to sleep at 12. Okay, there's an emergency, there's an emergency. But not every day is an emergency. So make sure to have the discipline to go to sleep on time so you can get up in the morning. Set yourself these goals. Then that discipline will carry over to anything else. For example, how many people do you know go into the shower and they spend 20 minutes in the shower? If you think about how long does it take a person to take a shower, it will be anywhere between 2 to 5 minutes, no more than that. I mean, for crying out loud, you don't have like ripples of fat that you gotta wash them. You know, you wet yourself up, you wash yourself up, you rinse yourself up. Yalla, it's all out. Why you need to stand out of the shower? What are you doing? Are you Socrates or something? Or what are you thinking there? Yeah, just get out. Set yourself a goal. And I know, for example, somebody that was supposed to do it doesn't set it anymore. Right? Set yourself a goal. Argument's sake, if you can't do it, Baruch Hashem, thank God, everybody has a telephone. Set the timer, or put Alexa on. Say, Alexa, set timer for 5 minutes. Yeah? And then she'll beep in 5 minutes. And Alexa will, just be careful with Alexa, because, you don't even know. Set timer for anything you do until it becomes a habit for you. If I'm going to teach you, for example, a certain routine, argument's sake, you need to have a block like this, and then a block down, and then a punch, and then a turn. In the beginning, you're not going to do it. Okay, I don't know, I'm not well coordinated. Hey, not a problem. Do that sequence 100 times, 150 times, you'll get it. Take a shower for 5 minutes, 7 minutes, all the time, but no more than that. If you want to take less, go ahead, take less. But all the time, 7-minute shower, which is a lot. 7-minute shower. In the Army, in the Air Force, we used to take 2-minute showers. You know why? Because there was no hot water. 7-minute showers. Before you know, it becomes a habit. You don't need a timer anymore. You know exactly what you're doing in the morning. Set your goal. In the morning, I get up, I wash my hands, do what I do, set my coffee. While I do this, I set my coffee, I go here, I go there. All of a sudden, you have all this time in the world. The same thing is like saving money. But if you didn't set your priorities, for example, that I need to go to shul every day, whatever, I'm going to make this minyan. You didn't set it as a priority. So therefore, you know what will happen? You're never going to go to shul, ever. You're never going to, since you're not going to go to shul, you're not going to do this. You're going to come late to yeshiva. You're not going to grow. Growth is by setting priorities, and this is your priority. That's why you should hold yourself accountable. If I'll hold you accountable for things, you're going to run away from it. You need to hold yourself accountable by setting your priority of what is important, acquire the discipline, what it takes, and then just do it. Don't look back, don't look to the side, just look forward, look at what you're doing, and try to become the best of what you do. You don't have to become a 10-degree black belt to become a great martial artist. You could become a fantastic, I knew this guy, Allah Shalom, he died young. He was just a black degree, he was a black belt, first degree black belt, in Taekwondo and other martial arts. He was probably one of the best teachers I've ever seen. He had a way with kids that he was gifted. And that's what he really wanted to do. But, he did this, that. He didn't do it at the end. For a while he did, and then set your priorities. It doesn't, but whatever it is that you do. Now you could teach 3-year-olds karate. You try to do the best that you can do to becoming that. Or you could teach first grade chumash. Don't look up at the guy or look yourself down at the guy who teaches, in the top shiur in the Mir Yeshiva in Israel, the top of the top. Because he cannot do your job. You look at what you do to become the best that you do. Don't dump responsibility to somebody else because it's your priority, not somebody else's priority. So whatever is your share, your chelek, become the best in it. Don't compare yourself to others. You're never going to break even. Don't let others tell you what to do. You're never going to break even. Don't try to appease others because you're never going to break even. There's only one entity in the world that you should appease, and that's God. After God, it's you. After that, no one. You need to become whole in order to offer yourself to somebody else. Marriages fail Because of lack of discipline, marriages fail because lack of priorities. That's why marriages fall. There are many other reasons, but these are the best or the big ones. And you need to be brave. You need to be brave to know what you want, to list what you want, and to go after it. Don't tell me you have to pay for yeshiva. That's why you have to live the dream of your life, and then because you have to send your kids to yeshiva, and instead of becoming a farmer making cheese, you're becoming a brain surgeon. If that's what you like to do, that's what you like to do. Because I'm going to tell you why. Because you're not going to become a good brain surgeon if you don't really passionate about what you do. If you did not set it to be your number one priority. Yes, technically they can make $1 million a year. But you become a very bad brain surgeon. You've been better off becoming a cheesemaker than a brain surgeon. Whatever it is that you do the best. But in order to be the best, you need to know what you want. Have a great day.